The Leon Edwards Kamaru Usman trilogy is likely to go down at UFC 286. According to Kamaru Usman's manager, he's good to go. It's been reported that he was in a cast recently, spotted it at an MMA regional event, but his coach says, don't worry about that. My guy is good to go. And this will take place in London, already confirmed by the UFC. We're just waiting on the announcement to see whether Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman will fight in the trilogy or someone else will get a shot. So we got this topic and more next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is The Community MMA with your host, Chris Cross.
Oh no! Oh no! Khamzat Chimaev! It's over! It's over! This guy's stock is rising fast. Khamzat Chimaev! This guy's stock is rising fast. Khamzat Chimaev! Khamzat Chimaev! Oh no! What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is The Community MMA. So, if Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman are set to fight, well, not set yet, but it seems likely that they're going to fight at UFC 286 at the O2 Arena in London. This will go down March 18th. In fact, there's two pay-per-view events in March. March 4th, UFC 285. March 18th, UFC 286. You think about that, by March 18th, we're going to have 4 pay-per-view events that will be complete as you look at UFC 283 through UFC 286. So a lot of big-time fights coming in rapid succession here in the next 60 to 70 days for the UFC. But if Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman are going to fight in a trilogy, that means that Khamzat Chimaev is still on hold, right? And that's a problem, that he's still on hold. Because we're being led to believe that if Khamzat Chimaev gets a big-time shot against a contender, right? So in the welterweight division, he gets a number 3 contender in Gilbert Burns. He beats him. Now, there's some people that could say, well, he should have lost that fight, or he didn't look great, or whatever. He won the fight, okay? And is still not getting a title shot because we're getting rematch after rematch after rematch in every division. Now, I will say the welterweight with Usman is the one division I wouldn't complain about. Adesanya as well. I mean, both these guys probably, if anyone deserves a rematch, they do, because they were longtime champions. The only problem I have with it is the fact that both guys got finished in the 5th round. They didn't lose by like a split decision or a close fight. They got finished in the 5th round, which happened multiple times in 2022, right? Even Yuri Prochazka beating Glover Teixeira in the 5th round. And that was going to a rematch. So there's something going on with all these rematches, but there's guys that are getting cheated in the process, and Khamzat Chimaev is one. Because on one hand, it's like, hey, if you fight a top contender, a number 3 or above, and you get the win, then you're likely to get a title shot. And it's just not true. I mean, in fact, Jared Cannonier's coming out recently and saying, hey, you know, Khamzat Chimaev shouldn't just get a title shot against Alex Pereira. He should have to beat a top 3 contender first. Okay? But Khamzat did that in the welterweight division. He's still not getting a title shot. So he's looking at the middleweight now and saying, why would I fight Cannonier or Adesanya? I'm just going right to the champ, because either way, they're going to keep me on the sidelines regardless. So I'm just going to go right to the champ and start calling him out. And maybe I get lucky, and maybe I get that title fight right now, and I don't have to wait. Because that's all Khamzat Chimaev is doing, is waiting. Now, I'm not opposed to Edwards versus Usman 3, but the problem for Khamzat is after that fight takes place, you know, how many months are we going to be waiting for Khamzat to get his chance, or whoever to get their chance next? Because Usman, if he wins, is not fighting for a year. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If Edwards wins, it may not be a year, but it's going to be a good 9 months. And I'm trying to stick to my prediction this year in 2023 that Khamzat will end the year as champion. If he doesn't get a title shot by the end of this year, we got a major problem, folks. I mean, we got a major problem if Khamzat just doesn't get at least a title shot.
Oh, no!
Because, he's capable of going in there and beating these champions. And I think people are just tired of it, like tired of the waiting game.
Everybody's upset.
And it's like, we got to give this guy an opportunity. Make no mistake about it. So if you listen to Jared Cannonier, right, in the top 3 of the middleweight, you got Cannonier, Robert Whittaker, Adesanya, and Pereira. If he goes in there and beats Jared Cannonier at number 3, you think they're just going to give him a title shot now? No, they're going to say, oh, no, you got to beat Robert Whittaker or Adesanya if he loses to Pereira again. You got to beat a number 1 guy, And if you beat a number 1 guy, there's no guarantee they're going to get. I mean, look at Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley beat Petr Yan, and they're probably going to bring Henry Cejudo off the street and give him a title shot. So anybody's eligible for a title shot, right? And this is why you're starting to see Khamzat Chimaev call out the champion and saying, hey, I want that fight. As we shift gears, looking at the heavyweight division real quick, Francis Ngannou continues to hold on to the title at the top. And him and Cyril Gane fought last January. It's been a year. I thought you had to defend the title within a year. Well, Francis Ngannou hasn't done that. We don't even have a fight scheduled. We keep hearing the John Jones thing. Bottom line is nothing is happening. When's the UFC going to take action? You still got Stipe Miocic up there waiting to fight. Sergey Pavlovich is going to be a serious problem for the division. I mean, because you look at the rest of the division with Cyril Gane, really good fighter, can't beat Ngannou. Stipe Miocic, right? He's really good, obviously. You got Curtis Blades, Tai Tuivasa, but none of them are going to be able to contend with Francis Ngannou. So at least if you have John Jones in the mix eventually, we haven't seen him in 3 years. And then Sergey Pavlovich, you got some fresh guys here that could make a run. It makes the division a lot more interesting. And that's what we're starting to see in the heavyweight division. But Francis Ngannou is certainly holding up this division for a long time. And they need to get this division moving. And we'll have to, see what happens. But right now, not much is going on here in the heavyweight division. Not even really any fights scheduled except for Derek Lewis. And he's not even in the top 5 anymore. So you got that. Also coming up, right, UFC 284, Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski. We cannot wait for this one. We've been talking about it. That goes down, I believe it's February 11th or February 18th, one of the two. But that'll be UFC 284. Then also you got now, in the last couple of days, Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jeff Neal will go at it. And I think they added this, was it UFC 284? I believe it might have been. But Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jeff Neal will fight. So that's good news on that front. Then you got Marlon Vera at number 17. He's set to fight. So you got a lot of fighters on the due list, 4 right now, and it's just early in the year, that are already getting ready to fight. Another big name guy we want to see on this list is Bo Nickel. Right? Bo Nickel's a guy I'd like to move up because I believe that he can be a force to be reckoned with in the UFC, but he has yet to make his debut. So he's stuck down there at number 19. And we'll have to wait and see how this thing takes shape. But that's the way the due list looks right now as we wait for some other fighters to work their way into the UFC. We look for some of these young fighters to get their first debut fight. Raul Rosas Jr. came in and did big things. That's why he's up there at 16 or 17. So, a lot of room for improvement for some of these guys at the bottom of the list. We just need to see them fight. And listen, you come into the UFC, making a debut, you need to get on there and start fighting like Khamzat did, like Raul Rosas Jr. is talking about doing. You can't sit on the sidelines for 6 months, 8 months. You got to get in there and fight. And that's what we're looking from Bo Nickel. So let's get into today's prediction of the day. So this fight will go down at UFC 284 between, it's for the featherweight interim title, right? So Josh Emmett is in there, but can Josh Emmett get the win here against a tough Yair Rodriguez? I don't think enough people are talking about this, because if Volkanovski does beat Islam Makhachev, slim chance, but it could happen, right? He's not going back down to featherweight, so this could in fact be for the featherweight title. We just don't know yet. And both these two guys have a clear road to the belt now because they're facing off with one another. So let's get to this fight prediction, and we'll come back and get into the Q&A. In the featherweight division at UFC 284, you got Yair Rodriguez coming in at 15-3, taking on Josh Emmett, who comes in at 18-2. And these are two very good featherweight fighters stuck in a division with Alexander Volkanovski as the longtime champion. And doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon unless he can beat Islam Makhachev and he stays in a lightweight division. So these two guys are battling for the interim title. The winner will likely fight Volkanovski should Volkanovski return to this division. But Yair Rodriguez is 5 inches taller at 5'11", but he's got a 1-inch reach advantage. Both guys fight right-handed. Both guys land just over 4 significant strikes per minute, so it's very close in that department. Josh Emmett lands about a takedown every 3 rounds. Yair Rodriguez nearly the same, so not a lot of big advantages when you look at the numbers. Everything looks pretty close except the height advantage for Rodriguez, where he's 5 inches taller than Emmett. And will that lead Emmett to try to go in and get some takedowns? Well, it's possible, because Yair Rodriguez has a 62% takedown defense. That's not very good. However, he's coming off the big win over Brian Ortega, TKO finish in that fight. He did lose to Max Holloway, but he performed pretty well compared to what we see Max Holloway do to others. It was 230 to 160 in terms of significant strikes. Max Holloway had 3 takedowns on Yair, which is concerning because Josh Emmett could take the same route. Before that, Yair Rodriguez beat Jeremy Stevens. So he's won 2 of his last 3 and continually working up. Now, Josh Emmett, on the other hand, has been on a tear. Right? He's won 5 in a row, 7 of the last 8. So in the 5-fight win streak, he's beat Michael Johnson, Mirsad Bektik, Shane Burgos, Dan 50K Ige, that's a big one, and Calvin Kattar, that's another big one. Now, Calvin Kattar outstruck him 130 to 107, but lost by split decision. And we saw this all in 2022 a lot, where one guy appears to win a fight and the other guy gets the decision. So that was the case in the Calvin Kattar fight. When you outstrike your opponent by 23, you probably should win, but he didn't. Also, Josh Emmett, 58% takedown defense. So both guys really want to keep the fight standing, but both guys have weak takedown defense, which is funny in this tough division where guys are going to want to strike, but they're going to try to take you down at times. Both guys seem to be winning with weak takedown defense. So look for this fight to go to the ground, although we're not expecting it to, right? When you look at the numbers, but expect this fight to go to the ground. And there, I think Josh Emmett has a little bit of an advantage, especially via the ground and pound. So although he's 5 inches shorter, it could play into his hands where he's going in and level changing. He's already shorter, going in for takedowns. If Josh Emmett can't get takedowns, it could be a long night for him. Yair Rodriguez wins. So, but what I think happens is Josh Emmett does get some takedowns. I think he controls the fight pretty well. It will be a 5-round fight. That will be interesting, but I'm still going to lean with Josh Emmett here. I mean, I like the fact that the guy's on a major win streak. He's beaten people, and he's won 5 in a row. I think that continues here. Tough matchup for both guys, but I think Josh Emmett guts it out here, landing more significant strikes, getting 2 or 3 takedowns, winning 3 rounds in a very close 48-47 decision for him. But I see him winning the fight that way to move to 19-2. and capture the featherweight interim title. Maybe gets a shot against Volkanovski. We'll see. But that's how it goes down here at UFC 284. Now, I don't know if he would beat Volkanovski, assuming Volkanovski loses to Islam Makhachev. I mean, I like a Josh Emmett versus Volkanovski fight. Two shorter guys can strike, could go to the ground potentially, but, relatively the same height. They stack up well, although Volkanovski has an advantage over everybody in that division. But a loss to Islam could shake his confidence. We've seen that with other fighters, right? This isn't a guy that's used to losing. So it's going to be a big-time fight with Islam Makhachev. And we'll have to wait and see how that fight transpires. Now, as we get into the Q&A, let's start with the Micah Reynolds. Getting into Dana White, who we have not talked about. I don't think his wife does anything they made up. The stocks thing, though, wow. Maybe some long-term consequences. So talking about Endeavor stock going down, they already said Dana White's slap league is going to be delayed. Whatever station that's on. This is what you see, right? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, there's a video out there of him doing this. No one condones it. But to make everybody else in the UFC or the slap league pay is utterly crazy. So we'll have to see how that plays out too. Mario H. Islam will win very easily. Volk was almost submitted by an American black belt. Imagine a Dagestani black belt straight up just destroying him, right? I mean, so yeah, it makes sense. I mean, again, we know from Khabib, now Islam, these Dagestani fighters, and I just watched a documentary on them last night. I mean, it's just crazy how hard they train and how much food they eat and how they take care of their bodies. And, for them, it's a livelihood. It's not just like, let's get into camp and get back in shape. This is a livelihood for these guys. They live it every day. I mean, so anytime you go up against a Dagestani fighter, it's going to be a tough day, even if you do win. Naksu says, go watch the Adriano Martin fight. Early stoppage, one of the worst stoppages in UFC history. Funny, everyone thinks it's easy to KO Makhachev with a lucky punch. Alex will end up like Charles, mark my words. Reem, keep it real raw, says, this is the stuff I don't like though. When Islam beats Volk, he was supposed to win. They aren't going to give Islam the same props as they would Volk. It's a David versus Goliath storyline. Although in this story, David picked the fight with Goliath. Yeah, good point there. Again, Reem, keep it real raw. And now you got Daniel Cormier coming out this late yesterday saying that this will be the biggest upset in UFC history if Volk wins. And Chael Sonnen said a couple days ago that it would not be an upset. So how I guess this comes down to everybody's opinion. In one way, it will be a huge upset because the people, like including myself, is not planning on that to happen. It's like when Leon Edwards knocked out Kamaru Usman, we're like left in shock. Usman was cruising to victory, having a tough fifth round, and then boom, the leg kick, it's over. So this will be a shocking situation just because going into it, no one's expecting it. Daryl Morris, I hate the rematch scenario. If you lose, you should have to win a fight, come back, and then fight for the title. And these guys not fighting for a year or once a year. You should have to fight 2 times a year at least to even be top 5, in my opinion. Big Khamzat fan here, by the way. Yeah, there's a lot of us Khamzat fans roaming around. Al Topo, Mike Topo, the voice of reason. I hear you. The UFC are dragging things out, thinking they are very smart when they are only messing things up. So, when you get into Khamzat Chimaev, if you're a fan or you know of fans like myself and others, we get deeply upset that it's been 3 years and he still hasn't had a title shot yet. When he's just, other than Gilbert Burns, he's absolutely destroying everybody in quick fashion. I mean, not like 2-3 rounds, he's breaking opponents down. Like he went in against Kevin Holland and beat him in like under 2 minutes. So, what are we waiting for? This guy is clearly for real, and he's going to be even tougher in the middleweight division, where people aren't planning that. We just been stuck seeing him fighting the welterweight. When he gets up to middleweight, the middleweight's not, it's not nearly as deep as the welterweight division. It should be very easy for him to take over that division. And quite frankly, it might be time for him to just go ahead and do that. So, that's all I got to say about it. I just want to see Khamzat fight. What about you? But for now, this your boy Chris Cross. Let's leave it at that. This is the Community MMA. Have a great day. God bless. Peace.